Number 10. Recording Arlos' lines became harder as his voice got deeper. Ever wonder why a majority of kids in animated films are actually voiced by adults? Well, it's more or less because of this little gland in the base of your skull that makes your child voice actors pretty risky to use. No, I'm no sex ed teacher, so I'll leave the reasons for you to figure out, but the main problem is the shift in pitch, and when you're trying to record audio, it can become a pretty troublesome pattern. During Raymond Ochoa's last few recording sessions, his voice had become noticeably lower than before. With the prospect of having to either find a new voice actor for Arlo or re-recording all of his lines, the sound team felt they were in for a major setback. Luckily, as the change was very recent and after several takes, a group of vocal coaches were able to coach Raymond back into the proper voice. Number 9. The movie is a flipped boy and his dog film. Among filmmakers, there are many go-to plot cliches. You got your end of the world, your tragedy romance movies, Johnny being weird, and even the good old-fashioned boy and his dog film. The Good Dinosaur flips this last one on its head, with the young dinosaur acting as the boy, and a human child acting as the aptly named dog, Spot. With various references to and inspiration drawn from Old Yeller, The Good Dinosaur pulls the twist off quite nicely. However, this was not enough to prevent parents from complaining about the underdeveloped humans acting like animals. Number 8. The campfire scene is a reference to Jaws. While subtle, The Good Dinosaur pays various homages to the team's favorite films, like The Lion King, Jurassic Park, and even Jaws. During one scene where Arlo is sitting around the campfire with a group of T-Rexes, they begin talking about all the scars they have and how they accumulated them. The scene feels very similar to Jaws, where a group of fishermen show off their various injuries and scars in a similar fashion. Number 7. The STYRACOSAURUS'S face is a callback to Pixar's previous film, Inside Out. There's one in every film, they say. Pixar loves animating Easter egg references into as many places as they can. Some go-to Easter eggs for Pixar include the Luxo ball, the Pizza Planet truck. One of the many callbacks in The Good Dinosaur, or it may actually be a call forward, is the STYRACOSAURUS. You know, the dino with all those smaller animals on it? In Pixar's previous film, Inside Out, Riley and her mother pose in front of a statue Styracosaurus, which just happens to look very similar to the Styracosaurus shown in the film. Number 6. Arlo's movement is based on an elephant's movement. Realistic animation is no paltry task, especially when the dinosaurs you're trying to animate have been dead for 65 million years. While this has the pleasant side effect of giving the animation team free rein, it also makes proper movement difficult to create. After some discussion on the best way to create the dinosaur's gait, the animators based the Astrosaur's movement after elephants, with a little flair thrown in depending on the character. Arlo's movement was based off of very young elephants, who are much more spry and energetic. While the parents were based off of adults and have much more pronounced movement, the T-Rexes of the movie have their movements based off of a blend of horses and a traditional cowboy to further push the southern rancher feel. Number 5. Disney is returning early tragedies to kickstart the plot cliche. You know what the best part of Bambi was? The mother dying, of course. We're not sure what Disney's obsession with tragedy is, but it kinda works. If you haven't noticed yet, Disney will usually kick a movie's plot off by killing a seemingly important character, or in the case of The Good Dinosaur, his whole family. This has worked in almost every single popular Disney movie, like Up, The Lion King, and Finding Nemo. Recently, it looked like Disney was distancing themselves from this with movies like Inside Out, where the tragedy was just moving, not losing a whole family. Looks like old habits die hard. Number 4. Mid-production, the director Bob Peterson was replaced with Peter Sohn, who took the movie into a completely different direction. While producing The Good Dinosaur, the project leads decided that the story they envisioned was far too complicated for a children's movie. To rectify this, they replaced Bob Peterson with Peter Sohn as the director. Peter rewrote the entire script, changed the majority of the voice actors, and transitioned the entire movie into a more childlike form. Number 3. The movie was only half animated 6 months before its release. To what is the equivalent of waiting until the night before to finish an essay, The Good Dinosaur was only half animated 6 months before it released. Now, if this was an indie film, animated short, or anything like that, it would be completely understandable. But with a development time of 7 whole years, it's pretty baffling that they waited so long for what amounts to the entire visual element of the film. Well, it's obvious that more goes into the film than just animation, and there was of course all that drama with the director changing mid-production. Leaving the scenes so late paints a clear picture as to why the movie grossed much less than anticipated. Despite waiting till the last minute, the film visuals hold up well with previous Pixar films, so kudos to them and Caffeine for pulling it off. Number 2. The drug trip not seen since Dumbo. Hey, you know what the perfect scene for a kids movie is? Did you guess tripping on hallucinogenic berries? Well, if so, then you'd make a perfect writer for Disney. No, but seriously, in a pretty out-of-place scene for the movie, Arlo and Spot take a drug trip to the likes of which hasn't been seen since Dumbo and Timothy Q drank whatever that champagne was spiked with. These two scenes are the only 2 real drug trips taken in Disney movies, and seeing how it was heavily criticized in Dumbo, it's a wonder why it was included once again. Number 1. The fully rendered scene where Arlo swept through the river took up 17 terabytes. Have you ever gotten a Windows pop-up message saying, "Hey, your drives are full, fix it"? Most people with new devices will likely never see this, as the average new computer ships between 1 and 2 terabytes. For you people with not so new computers or aren't so techy, in general, a terabyte can hold up to 250,000 songs, 200,000 high-quality pictures, 180 movies, or around 86 million Word documents. The developers of The Good Dinosaur employed a new, rather odd technique for rendering the scene where Arlo swept along the river. Instead of choosing their camera angles first and animating the scene second, they instructed their animators to render the scene from all possible angles, causing the completed render files to take up almost 17 terabytes of room. For reference, the entirety of Cars took up 3 terabytes. And you thought Steam games clogged up your computer.